it's kind of stressful. I was thinking about how to try to condense the talk, and every week, as you can imagine with YouTube, with issues about kind of legal side, international side, what countries we want to launch and what countries we want to dedicate resources to, with the limited resources, what teams with Google that we want to work on. Should we be putting more resources on mobile versus syndication to the TV rooms? I was sort of happy to actually be coming down here, and this is probably one of the highlights of the trip, is just to be able to talk with other people who are in many ways in the same shoes and same position that I was in 3 years ago. It's hope it was going to be a stress-free 3 or 4 days, but then again, coming up here and saying, all right, well, I try to condense everything that you want to say into 4 or 5 minutes. So I just picked out a few highlights of what I really wanted to get across, which is I jumped upon this opportunity to be able to be here today with everyone here. And I think it's part of the broader sort of committee of 100 wanting to be part of the committee in the very same way, which is that, I think that there's a lot of questions that I get. Probably the biggest question I get when from whatever it is, from journalists, from people that are from other entrepreneurs, from engineers, from just other people, venture capitalists that are trying to start companies, and they're always sort of asking about what the secret sauce is of YouTube was, or even PayPal. When you really think about these two companies, you can summarize what YouTube does or what PayPal does in a matter of 5 or 6 words, right? It's not, you don't need a business proposal that's pages long to talk about what PayPal does, which is just to be able to exchange money online. With YouTube, same thing, is to be able to watch and share videos online, which I think that's one of the biggest things. If you have an idea, if that can be condensed down to 5 words, and you can summarize what the idea, what the business is supposed to be for in a matter of 5 words, I think you have the first checkbox clear. But back to the question about what YouTube was, and I think the follow-up question is, why was YouTube successful? Because fundamentally, it's a very easy problem. I mean, I think that anybody. Again, it's like maybe another testimony that when people look at something like YouTube and they kind of say, oh, duh, I can't believe it took until 2005 for this to come out, that this is such a simple idea. And then you start getting questions about sort of what the composition, or what was the secret of success? It's such an easy idea. Anybody could have thought of it. It's something that's sort of universally applicable. So why was it YouTube that succeeded versus the 20 other sites that were doing exactly the same thing at the time that YouTube was doing, or before and after that? Before YouTube started, or after it. 2005 certainly wasn't the first time that something like YouTube came about. And if it's a conversation in passing, if I only have 15 seconds to talk to this person and answer the question, it would just really comes down to, I think, 2 things. One of them is the having the right idea, right time, right idea, and the other one is a lot of hard work. But as I started thinking about it, I think that if we had more time to sit down and talk about it, there's a whole slew of other things that go not just beyond there's 2 aspects. I think along the right idea, there's a lot of aspects about right timing, right idea. Luck and fortune being exactly at the right spot at the right time. However, I think that a lot of people think that that's not controllable, that that's just somewhat of a lottery ticket. I do think that there's a lot of that's under the control of the entrepreneurs, the people starting these companies, which is, there are a lot of right ideas in different times, and it's really trying to evaluate, given the sort of variables that you have to work with, whether or not right now is the right time to do this idea. I think with going back to YouTube, the reason why I think it was 2005 was the right time was it was just happened to be the first time where broadband penetration reached over 50% of the people, and not just in the U.S., but it was expanding very greatly in Europe as well as in Asia. You had the first time where digital cameras dipped below the $200 price points, and all these digital cameras were able to take videos for the first time. And people were taking these videos, and they just had no place to share them, right? You couldn't email them back and forth. You couldn't. There was no place to actually upload them and share them online. And then the third reason why I think YouTube in 2005 was the right time was the software was there that was sort of both the proliferation of computers and desktop computers, laptops, was great, but on top of that, the software was there such that you didn't have to sort of download an application in order to watch videos. And the latest version of the Flash player actually had a video codec and an audio codec that was that you could play videos directly into the browser. So you pretty much had 99% of the people out there with the ability to create videos, with the ability to watch videos, and with the sort of broadband penetration to watch videos. So, I mean, I do think the summary of that is that I think there's a lot of it that goes into that a lot of the timing and being lucky with the right idea is somewhat controllable and is part of sort of the evaluation phase of an idea. And then finally, I think there's a lot to be said about the hard work that's involved. I think that especially as we were starting out in 2-3 months after we launched, so we started working on the site in January 2005. And around March of 2005 was when Google Video launched videogoogle.com, and that was a few sleepless nights there about, okay, should we stop working on it? Should we continue to try to work on this original idea? And I think that at the end of the day, the hard work was something that we just thought, if there's something that you can tangibly, you can actually, palpably touch, you can control something. I didn't want it to turn out that YouTube ended up being a failure sometime later on. It was because we didn't spend enough time trying to iterate and trying to work on the right product, right? So there was a lot of just hard work and making sure that everybody was on the same page about getting the right idea out there. And I think that along the way here, along the way with the rapid success of YouTube, there's a lot that I've learned about how to take a company of 3 people to a company now of over 300 people, and having gone through a couple venture capital rounds, having gone through an acquisition with Google, but all the different things in there about sort of how to deal with venture capitalists, right? How to create a legal department, a marketing department, PR department, so on. A lot of these things about how to grow just an engineering team, which I was in control of at YouTube, from where everybody was allowed to just do anything they wanted, push anything to the live web systems, to as you start growing bigger, where you have developers that are coming in and push out something and it could actually take down the entire site. So it was really this emphasis about, okay, so how do you put in more restrictions? And you grow this organization just on the engineering side and product side, which I was controlling, from 2 people to 10 people to 30 people to 50 people. And every step along the way, you sort of figure out. I think every step along the way, there's a sort of an organizational structure that works really well, but then if you're expanding the company pretty quickly, 3 to 6 months later, it'll be outdated. But all along the way, I found people that have just been tremendously helpful to me to be able to ask them, people that have started companies before, people that have been wanting to give back to other people that are trying to start companies, and it saved us from a lot of times where there's decisions and 2 viable paths, or both paths seem pretty viable, and instead of trying to take one and learning by sort of a trial by fire, it's been very helpful to ask these guys about, okay, so when you were dealing with this problem 20 years ago, 15 years ago, what was it that you did, and you tell us why? And I think that alone has saved us just so much time, so much energy, and may have been one of the things that really pushed us over to the side of success rather than failure. So, in short, I think that part of what I want to do here, and one of the major reasons of joining the community of hundreds, is to be able to help out with other people that are faced with similar problems, and whatever value my advice has, but at least be able to talk about it, and if be other people that find themselves in the same situation that I was in 3 years ago and have the same sort of questions that I have. Hopefully, I can answer any of these questions and maybe create some shortcuts and not having to take the long road. Thanks.